CFR Network, CFR News. Good day, good night to all. Shalom, balance, paradise, ni hao, wassalam, all of the universal greetings. Another hot day here in sunny UK. Thank you, so for tuning into this here broadcast. Stay hydrated, you heard? Keeping the build international as we do. Bringing back the sibling, the one and only.
Yes. Greetings.
What it do, man? Introduce yourself to the listeners and some of the siblings who don't know who this brother is.
Yes. Greetings. Oh man, I'm getting like a little feedback. Okay, is it good now? You hear me?
Blessed.
Okay, great. All right. No, greetings everyone. My name is A Noot Boonoo NoopooH. I represent Noon Science, which is a science that is a universal science designed to resurrect and liberate, us as Black people from the conditions that we face on the planet. And I know that we've been given a lot of religions and a lot of sciences, and every time we think of science, we think of some of the sciences that the Caucasian has brought forth. But I assure you that this particular science is a universal science given to us by, a divine individual by the name of Afro Unu. He basically was inspired by intelligence and by what we would call reason, right? So any type of intelligent thought process or any type of inspiration or reading material that is reasonable and also being checked out by using research, that would be considered to be what it is that I follow, which is called Noon. So everything that I do has to be researched, checked out, and it has to make profound sense. And if it doesn't make any type of profound sense, then we have to either put it in the category of theory or put it in the category of belief and religion and things of those sort. So even things down to the symbols that I'm wearing, this particular symbol is called the Noop symbol in our science. The blue represents water and cleanliness. The green, of course, represents vegetation and earth. The black represents space and also the skin, and the essence that creates the skin that we have. And the red, of course, represents the blood, and ether as well. And you guys see the symbol that I'm wearing. This is called the Nahus, and basically this symbol in particular is made out of copper, because copper is a great conductor of electricity. At the bottom of this particular symbol is a coil. You can't really see it too much, but it's a coil. The coil is a representation of our hair, and also coils are a representation of balancing electromagnetic fields, because we are being manipulated by electromagnetic fields that we are currently facing at this particular time. So I know that was a rather long introduction to myself, but I just wanted to give you guys just a little background information about who I am and what it is that I do. And what it is that I do is I'm a metaphysician. So I look into the deeper meanings and the deeper sciences of things, whether that be health, whether that be science that we currently follow, which I like to call pseudoscience.
Yes.
Which is actually science, by the way. Pseudoscience is science.
Is a science in itself. Yes, indeed.
Right. So, and it does have a part to play within science, because it helps you to question whether something is valid or not. So pseudoscience does have a place in science, but it must be identified that pseudoscience is not a complete science. You understand? So that's what the Caucasian follows. That's why it's a whole bunch of theories and things of that nature within those particular sciences. And in Noon, we actually complete science. So we give you the complete understanding and equal standing of the science that we are presented with in today's world. So we give the completion of that particular science.
True indeed. I totally forgot to say as well, Get your pens and pads ready. Anytime these brothers come on the builds, we're gonna
Right.
get a lot of information. So pause where
Absolutely.
required, and most importantly, study to show thyself approved. Sit
Hmm.
down, prepare for the warning before the destruction. We're going to go
Hmm.
into some interesting lanes, um, as you alluded to, in regards to frequencies, these slash frequency wars. We're going to
Right.
touch on some information which some may have an introduction to, but I think we're going to
Hmm.
have a more of a complete build and give some people a lot of information that can most definitely help them in their day to day. And that's what it's all about. It's not about making huge giant leaps. It's about making incremental steps to make
Hmm.
your life better.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So, you are absolutely on point, and this is one of the most important topics that need to um we need to address,
Yes.
because a lot of people don't understand why it is that they think the way they think, right?
Mhm.
And most times we just chalk it up to, oh, I'm just having a bad day, or why am I having these negative thoughts when I'm just randomly just watching TV or
Yeah.
doing something that they may be happy doing, and then all of a sudden someone snaps or whatever the case may be. So I'll be using a lot of Wikipedia and things like that, because it's easy for for a person to just go research the information themselves.
Hmm.
So if anything that I say, a person disagrees with, we can always have a form discussion, and they can reach out to your network, and we can definitely speak face to face and have a intelligent discussion about what it is that they may be disagreeing with, because I'm always for having a diatribe where we can have the meeting of the minds come together,
Indeed.
because I don't profess to knowing every single thing, but I do profess to following a certain technique that helps me to think clearly, or actually reason on a high level.
Hmm.
So this is, and debates are very healthy and very intriguing, because a lot of times most philosophers, they go through debates, right? And with the debates, if one philosopher was able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this particular issue that they are addressing comes to fruition, then all the philosophers, they basically say, hey, I digress. This
Mm.
is absolutely correct information. Let's go with this. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to have these diatribes where we can and dialogues where we can go back and forth and bounce ideas and things like that. But
Most definitely. And the most important thing within that is to be intellectual honest.
absolutely, absolutely. So one of the first things that I think we need to address is what is if anyone knows what a an electromagnetic spectrum is, you know that should be just a basic understanding of what an electromagnetic spectrum is, and really.
Well, flesh that out. In what context are you asking the siblings and listeners to identify the number and variance within the electromagnetic spectrum?
Okay, so I'm so happy that you asked that question, because a lot of times we look at the electromagnetic spectrum as something that the Caucasian created, right? And the reason why I say that is because they've labeled the electromagnetic spectrum based upon the frequency and the hertz
Hmm.
are concerned. So let me at least show you guys real quick what I mean about them labeling this particular electromagnetic spectrum. All right. So let me know if you see my screen.
Yes, indeed.
You see the screen?
Yes.
All right. And you see the electromagnetic spectrum. All right. So I'll just read real quick the definition of the electromagnetic spectrum
Hmm.
real quick. All right. So the electromagnetic spectrum is a range of frequencies, the spectrum of electromagnetic radiation. All right. For those who may not know what radiation is basically the energy output of a particular object. That can be the atom of a molecule. It could be also something as low as the subatomic field. Actually, the electromagnetic spectrum is created by the subatomic field as well. So, I mean, we'll be here for hours.
I know, breaking down each thing. So this is important that, as I said, the pens and pads are here. Let me just say one other thing as well. There will be some
Right.
people who will say, Anu,
Mhm.
I understand that you've got Wikipedia off right now, and it's an excellent reference tool, but we all
Mhm.
know that it can be edited. Um,
Mhm.
we're not in any stretch of the imagination saying that this is defined and everything
It's
done
not.
upon Wikipedia is correct. This is the starting point to allow you to navigate through the rabbit hole to then go to a specific website, a
Yep.
scientific journal, to then
Right.
back up and cross-reference. So I just
And
thought,
I will use a scientific journal so that the people can see exactly what it is that that I'm actually alluding to.
mhm,
This is just a surface point so that we can understand and we can see exactly what is affecting us and how does it affect us and in which kind of way that it
mm,
affects us. All right. So this, like you said, this is just surface information where anyone can come and anybody can research it, right? Because a lot of times we think that information and knowledge is some big deep thing that we got to go read in a 500 to 1,000 page book
mhm,
when the answers are right in front of our eyes.
indeed.
Understand it? All right. So the electromagnetic spectrum is a range of frequencies of electromagnetic radiation and their respective wavelengths and photon energies. The electromagnetic spectrum covers electromagnetic waves with frequencies ranging from below 1 hertz to above 10 to the 25th hertz, corresponding to wavelengths from thousands of kilometers down to a fraction of the size of an atomic nucleus. The frequency range is divided into separate bands, and the electromagnetic waves within each frequency band are called by different names, beginning at the low frequency, low wavelength end of the spectrum. These are radio waves, microwaves, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet, X-rays, and gamma rays at the at the high frequency short wavelength end. All right. So I'm gonna stop there as far as the definition is
Yes.
concerned. So the reason why I say that it's alluding more to Caucasian um understanding is because number one, even the word hurts, right? The word
Mhm,
hurts comes from a Caucasian, right? But nature itself goes by frequencies and waves itself. So the Caucasian did not discover these particular things first. These intervals of wavelengths actually come way back into ancient Egypt when we would label our sciences, which the science would be called Ma'at. I didn't have enough time to basically go through the entire science of Ma'at in order for us to see exactly what these particular things were named. But like I said, we have to microwave it almost into a small spectrum so that we can fit enough time in here where a lot of people won't get confused by the information, because if I go and
yeah.
I tap into my aunt, that's what, as a matter of fact, that's what our ancestors followed back then. So a lot of people think that my aunt is just a principle. No, my aunt is actually the science that our ancient ancestors in what they would call Africa, but we would actually call it Kemet at that particular time. We called it Kemet because it was the land of the black.
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what Kemet means, land of the black. But they
Chem.
followed my, huh?
Chem.
Right, Kim, exactly, Kemet. So they took the vowels out because the vowels were very sacred. You know, vowels also gave the frequency. Here goes that word again. It gives the frequency to the word that we are speaking. All right. So, like you see my name, like A Noot Boonoo NoopooH, those O's create a frequency, right? And that frequency is a high frequency that allows for the brain in order to get into a specific oscillation. And oscillation just means the way that a particular entity or energy is spinning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So either would spin clockwise or counterclockwise. All right. But we're not gonna get into that. Like I said, I could go for hours on this, but let's stick to the
The
to the
rabbit holes, man. The rabbit holes.
yeah, we'll be here all day long. But anywho's, yes, so they would name things like gamma ray, x-rays, and some of the waves are called the alpha, beta, gamma, theta,
Fader. Mm-hmm.
delta, right? So like we see on the right hand side, do they have it here on the right hand side? No, they call it ionizing radiation, right? So this top half that we see here, as
Mm-hmm.
far as the classes are concerned, um that the ionizing radiation, which is the gamma rays and hard x-rays, and also and x-rays, those are the radiations where they would call or say it's toxic. But the reason why it's toxic is because our shell or human body that we exist in right now
Mm-hmm.
is not designed to absorb
Yes.
that amount of radiation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the sun would basically give us little spectrums of gamma radiation in which it would be able to absorb within our DNA, especially us black people, in order for us to wake up from the slumber that we are facing right now. And I'm gonna explain more of that as time goes on. All right. So now that we have a basic understanding of the electromagnetic radiation, let's go to hold on. But let's go to how it affects us. Let me stop the screen sharing real quick. All right. Stop the share. Okay. All right. So you have anything to say real quick if you want to add on to that to the
Well,
to
the just looking at from the chart that you just had up in regards to the waves and stuff,
Mhm.
it's clear that the earlier sort of section is being utilized, radio waves, the extra low frequencies and stuff. That's military applications. Um, um, radio waves, extra low, medium, radio. Once we
Right.
get to the very high, the very top one, as you say, gamma and the ionizing radiation, those
Mhm.
elements, how, I know the answer to the question, I guess,
Yeah.
but what type of technology is being utilized for gamma? Now, the people who are our age and older, as soon as you think of gamma radiation, you think of the green Incredible Hulk
Right.
and science fiction. So in a real world, what type of technology is being utilized using gamma?
Well, using the gamma radiation right now, they you have some machines that they have, especially the CERN, right? So the CERN,
Ah,
yeah, the CERN is one of those machines that they collide particles together to create these electromagnetic fields.
mm,
Not only electromagnetic waves, but electromagnetic fields. But we're gonna go into that a little later. I just want to show people now how we are affected by these electromagnetic waves, and then we'll get to how they manipulate
okay.
it
Yes, 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 yes.
in order to have us think how they want us to think. But that's
Yeah,
an excellent question that you brought up. And I'm sharing my screen again.
there we go.
And I remember you said, get the scientific journal. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? This is when we start to really get to the meat and potatoes that, you know, Wikipedia, like I said, is just the surface of the information and the knowledge. But when you start looking into scientific journals, what I do if I'm lazy, you know, what I would do is I would just read the abstract, right? And
Yeah.
after I read the abstract, just go straight to the conclusion, because the body of the scientific journal is just them basically telling you how did they arrive
at that. Yes.
so you understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have to read through the whole thing. Just read the abstract and then
And
read the conclusion. Go
and
ahead.
also, sibling, if you did try and read some of that, depending on what level of study and education you are, a lot of it, it's not going to make any kind of sense.
Right. It's going
It's
to be
going to give you
confusing.
a good understanding in regards to their methodology and how they got, gathered certain information to then try and test. That's all cool. But as you say, if you look at the abstracts and conclusion, that's the meat and then the potatoes.
Right. Right. So this particular one was done in the Iran University of Medical Sciences. All right. And anytime that they publish these things in PubMed or the National Institute of Health or the National Library of Medicine, this means that it's on their end is absolutely legit, because they're not gonna post something that is going to be detrimental to their integrity.
And it's been peer reviewed as well.
Right. It's also been peer reviewed and things of that nature. So Wikipedia doesn't have that type of peer review, such as PubMed and the National Institute of Health and these type of science websites. So
sibling, let me sidetrack, and we're gonna do this, and I'm pretty sure we'll probably have to do a part 2 for this, because we need to try.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I said. We'll be here for hours, because for me personally, I like to take things step by step.
Exactly. Yes.
And I want to get through everything. So something like this let's just say if we had no timetable, something like this would run us about 4 or 5
hours easy. Yes. I was thinking the same thing. 4.5, 5.5 hours. So
I'm gonna microwave it into 1 hour for us.
Yes. Well, no, we'll go a little bit more than 1 hour. We'll go a little bit more than 1 hour still. But just for clarification, we mentioned that peer reviewed. Please paint a vivid picture in regards to what is a peer review. Many people hear it, but some people might not actually understand what a peer review process is.
All right. So peer review process, is basically when they have a unbiased amount of scientists within the same field that actually have to review not only the abstract and the conclusion, but they actually have to read how did they arrive to this particular conclusion, right? Even if it's a theory, they still have to go through the peer review process in order to say, okay, we can go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, right? So it has to have a level of understanding and intelligence attached to it, and it can't be opinionated at all. It cannot be opinionated. You understand that the only opinion that they can have is an hypothesis, right? Which is an educated guess, as we've all learned about our scientific process in school. You understand what I'm saying? But what I follow doesn't have any hypothesis. We deal with just absolute truth. So when we do our what you would call evidence, or to back our claims, this is just I'm just showing you the incomplete process of backing my my claims.
Yes.
Right. So I'm showing you just the incomplete version of it. So when they tell us the incomplete version, I'm gonna give you the actual facts of how this particular thing is set up.
Okay.
All right. So that's what a peer review is. It's just a board of unbiased. Sometimes it is biased, because sometimes we don't know who's really reviewing these particular things.
Totally.
But
in essence, as you say, it should be a non-biased sort of committee coming together to try and test the information that's being presented. Once they all get to a consensus, then they'll say, okay, yeah, I'm happy. I think you've done your due diligence. The things work up in regards to your workings. Yep, great, get it published.
Right. Right. And you know, and I want to also say, yes, it's supposed to be, like you said, unbiased, but the fact is our world is ran by money or capitalism, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes if you want to push something, you know, an agenda, as the Rockefellers, the the
Koch brothers,
yeah, what's the famous one over there as well, over there in
Rothschilds.
Rothschilds. There you go. Those, they are the biggest culprits as far as the school system is concerned. I just want to let you guys know that the American school system
Mm,
is being ran by the Rockefeller Foundation.
yeah.
They are the ones that tell us what we should learn,
Yes.
how we should learn,
Yeah.
and who we should learn from.
Hmm.
All right. So, yes, even though these are peer reviewed and things of that nature, we have to be very careful how we are discerning this information. All right. So
Agreed.
we shall move forward.
Hmm.
Because that's a whole nother 2 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour discussion about Rockefellers and Rothschilds.
Yeah,
And
yeah. We're not gonna touch that. We're not gonna touch that yet. You know, no,
oh
actually, I don't think we
my,
need to touch that. We're gonna deal with the science of the thing, and yeah,
yeah, we
yeah,
gotta stay here.
yeah.
Anywho, so this particular article, right, is talking about the changes of the brain's bioelectrical activity in cognition, consciousness, and some mental disorders. So when you do research on electromagnetism and the way it affects the individual, as far as the electromagnetic field, you will never ever find the negative effects of the electromagnetic field. Listen to what I'm saying. You could
Hmm.
just do a basic Google search right now and type in electromagnetic field and affect and mood, and the mood affect, the way that it affects the mood. You will never see the negative aspect of it unless you go into an actual peer-reviewed journal where they show you where this particular the negative effects of the electromagnetic field. Why? Because the electromagnetic spectrum that we're currently operating on, which is the alpha, beta, delta, theta,
Hmm.
those fields, those four fields, right, is what keeps us ignorant. So why would they expose the field that keeps you ignorant? They will never,
Yeah.
ever,
Mm.
ever tell you that those fields keep you ignorant. All right. But this particular peer review journal will actually expose that that's actually that's actually true, what I'm saying about it keeping us ignorant. All right. So in the abstract, right, it says, which is the background, it says an electroencephalogram, right, which is the EEG. That's the thing that they put on your heart, or
Yes.
sometimes they put on your head,
Hmm.
and they put the little gel on it, and
Yeah.
then they paste it on you. That's what the EEG is. All right.
And the
So
gels for the conductivity element of it, right?
yep, that's what it's used for. So if you guys ever wonder why they putting that gel, well, that's in order to get more radiation in there, in order to really tell what's taking place within the brain or the human body, or whatever the case may be. For those that may not know, there's people out there that know this stuff, but I'm just giving this, little bit of information to
Indeed.
those that may not know. All right. So the electroencephalogram, which is the EEG, is an accepted method in neurophysiology with a wide application. Different types of brain rhythms indicate that simultaneous activity of the brain cortex neurons depend on the person's mental state. All right. So basically, what they're saying in this particular paragraph is that this is an accepted way of showing you what is happening within your mind and the way that you think.
Hmm.
And that these particular rhythms that go on in the brain, which is the hertz, those rhythms basically tell how a person is thinking or what is going on within their brain. All right. So the method that they use, we have focused on reviewing the existing literature pertaining to changes of the brain's bioelectric activity that record that from the scalp in different conditions, such as cognition, meaning that the way that you think and organize your thought process, and some mental disorders, meaning the things that stop us from reaching a certain level of executing certain activities
Yes.
as far as our brains are concerned. All right. So the result is the frequency of the brain waves may indicate sleep, consciousness, cognition, and some mental disorders. Slow brain waves are seen in some conditions such as sleep, coma, brain death,
Mhm.
depression, autism, brain tumors, obsessive compulsive disorder, which is OCD,
Yeah.
attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is ADHD, encephalitis, while rapid waves are generally reported to in conditions such as epilepsy, anxiety, post-traumatic
Mm.
stress disorder, which is PTSD, and drug use. Now,
What?
they gave you the answer, right? But we're going to go through the article because
Yeah.
I want you guys to see exactly the frequencies and the hertz that are being used. You understand what I'm saying? But it's very important for us to see the frequencies, all right?
See, before you even go into that, and I
Right.
won't give too much away, but
No, go ahead.
oh,
We got to speak about it because after
okay.
that, we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of
Yes.
it. Uh-huh.
Okay. So based upon that results,
Mm-hmm.
we can see that there's a lower and a higher bands which are causing problems. So
Right.
clearly, as I always say, balance. So it's being within the middle of that spectrum to
Mm-hmm.
be a fully functioning person,
Mm-hmm.
human,
Mm-hmm.
mankind to be able to, function
Right.
correctly.
Right. So we live in our ancestors, like I, discussed earlier, practice ma'at, right? So that was their way of life, was ma'at. And what does ma'at mean? Ma'at means balance,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they understood that we had to reach a level of balance in order to obtain these particular things. But because we live in an unbalanced society, which is ran by an unbalanced way of life, which is called capitalism,
Yeah.
that is going to lead us to our destruction, right? So, oh man, this is one of the most um least spoken about topics in our what we would call conscious community.
Mm.
And it's one of the most, if not the most important because this is the way we think. This is the way we orchestrate ideas. This is the way we are going to get ourselves out of the mental destruction that we're facing, and
Mm.
physical as well. Mental and physical and spiritual.
Spiritual,
We gotta,
yes.
yeah, we gotta add the spirit in there because the spirit, we're not gonna get into that
Well, yeah,
because
but ascites, once
huh?
ascites of the information would be without the mental being well, without the
Right.
physical being well, the spiritual element, how can that fit into it? So
You can't,
again, it's the
it'll never
balance.
work.
This is it.
Right.
Mm.
No, you're absolutely right. If you don't have a balance of mental, spiritual, and physical, you're gonna destroy yourself. And that's what we're watching in this day and time here. I didn't even pull up the article, but there was I believe an Asian doctor that proved that cancer was of the lower frequency, and it can only operate in a lower frequency. The great Dr. Sabi, RIP Dr. Sabi, 2 days ago, that's when he transitioned
Rest in
about 6
paradise.
years ago.
Mm.
Yeah, he transitioned. He let us know that diseases can only thrive in acid environments as far as the body is concerned.
Yes,
Acid,
alkalinity.
right. Acid is important, but not as far as the human body is concerned. In the human body, we need more alkaline rich foods. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that I also teach. I'm doing a seminar not too long from now on August 20th. I'm part of a panel where I'll be discussing alkalinity and how it affects our body, and acidity and how it affects our body. And I'll also be discussing the electromagnetic, spectrum and things like that.
Yeah. Is this
So
going to be in
all
the
of the,
five boroughs or?
yeah, it's gonna be in Brooklyn. I totally don't remember the address, but
Oh,
when
good.
we
I'll put the
when we add
description. Yeah,
right,
I'll put it in the description and stuff. Don't worry about that, sibling.
yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, so let's move on. All right.
Yes.
So the,
Conclusion.
the conclusion is the increase in the EEG rhythm is a marker of high brain activity that leads to high degrees of consciousness, while slow waves are suggestive of less brain activity. The pattern of EEG rhythm can be an indicator of some mental disorders too.
Let me pause you right there, sibling. Let me pause you
Go
right
ahead.
there. Because now this is hitting home. This is hitting home. It really is. It really is. Now, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit just to divert the build slightly.
Okay, go ahead.
For the slow brain waves,
Right.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and people are experiencing depression,
Mm-hmm.
autism, and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
What is some quick fixes to try
Mm-hmm.
and alleviate some of these issues?
Um, you mean as far as autism?
Yeah.
All right. So one of the things that you want to give a person that has autism, is you want to give them mushrooms, right? So
Fungi.
yeah, fungi. Yeah, because the plant can. Let me tell you something about mushrooms. Mushrooms, even though they're fungi, they take the highest nutrients away from the thing that they're actually growing on.
Exactly. Yeah. I knew you was gonna go. I knew you was gonna go with that. All
So,
right. Yeah, yeah.
matter of fact, we got a little time.
We
Let me
got
stop. Let me stop screen sharing for a second. There's something called myos, what's it called again? Oh, let me show you real quick.
is this connected to the chlorophyll element of it as well?
Right.
Okay.
I want to show you guys.
And does it also link into the mycelium grid?
There you go.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I wanted to take it, because the mycelium grid is basically how all plants communicate with each other.
Exactly.
So when we take a mushroom that's connected to the mycelium grid, right? What happens is that all the plant elements come into that mushroom and allows the brain to recorrect itself.
Mm. Yeah. Okay.
All right, hold on for 1 second, because I'm trying to look for the I'm gonna show it to the people real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That you see how synchronistic, but this is taking a long time. The sibling AC at the House of Moreau, he was the first person, and we're going back to 2009 to mention
Wow.
the
Wow.
mycelium grid. And I was like, what was he talking about? And, obviously did the knowledge. I called him up, like, what's this? What are you talking about, sibling? And, Gregorian year of 2022, totally different builds. And, we're bringing it forth again. Yay, this
Right.
is it.
Here we go. Here we go right here. All right. So mycelium, plural, mycelia, is a root-like structure of a fungus consisting of a mass of branching thread-like hyphae. So this is like their nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the fungal colonies composed of mycelium are found in and on soil and many other substrates. A typical single spore germinates into a monokaryotic mycelium, which cannot reproduce sexually. When two compatible monokaryotic mycelia join and form a dikaryotic mycelium, that mycelium may form fruiting bodies such as mushrooms. A mycelium may be minute, forming a colony that is too small to see, or may grow to span thousands of acres, as in Armillaria. All right. So through the mycelium, a fungus absorbs nutrients from what? From its environment. It does this in a two-stage process. First, the hyphae secrete enzymes onto or into the food source, which breaks down biological polymers into smaller units such as monomers. Monomers meaning single attributes of that particular single molecules. All right. So
Okay.
as you can see in chemistry, a monomer is a molecule that can react together with other monomer molecules to form a larger polymer chain or three-dimensional network in a process called polymerization. All right. So when you see mono just means one, when you see poly just means more than two,
Yes.
and
Yes.
di means two. All right. So these monomers are then absorbed into the mycelium by facilitated diffusion and active transport.
Raw.
Yeah. So as you can see, facilitative diffusion is a process of spontaneous passive transport of molecules or ions, which ions, oh, man, this is why I said some of these things. All right. So ions are basically the electric charge of a
Mhm,
particular thing,
mhm.
right? And
Energetic, really energetic, right?
right. And it can go in the cation sphere or the anion sphere. So I'm gonna give y'all a little secret. Cations, right, are actually negative spirits. It's a cations are positively charged, but they are negative spirits.
We touched on this in one of the first builds, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we're gonna touch on that too in this as well. So
Mhm.
you guys gonna see exactly what it is that I'm talking about. As a matter of fact, that article speaks about that as well, that we're gonna get back to.
Okay.
All right. So and anion are negative spirits, right? Always keep that in mind, that ions are actually spirits,
Mhm.
right? And the ionosphere in the atmosphere is actually where spirits reside. That's where the part of the electromagnetic spectrum is as well. So your spirit is actually a part of the electromagnetic spectrum, whether you want to think positively or negatively. And this is when the Bible speaks about going up into heaven.
Mhm.
Heaven is actually the ionosphere, but that's for a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day. All right. So by a lot, sorry. Let me start from the beginning. Facilitated diffusion is a process of spontaneous passive transport of molecules or ions across a biological membrane via specific transmembrane integral proteins. Being passive, sorry, being passive, facilitated transport does not directly require chemical energy from ATP, which is adenyl triphosphate, right? Um, require chemical energy from ATP hydrolysis in the transport step itself. So it probably goes on to even more, but that's just the basic understanding what facilitative diffusion is.
Mhm.
Basically how they transport these molecules or ions and active transport. All right, so mycelia are vital in terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems for their role in the decomposition of plant material. They contribute to the organic fraction of soil, and their growth releases carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere.
Yes.
See the carbon cycle.
Mhm.
The ectomycorrhizal extra matrical mycelium. So basically, this is the underground sequence of how these particular plants communicate with each other. What we're reading is basically the nervous system
Yeah.
and of the plants, and the fungi takes from their nervous system and creates its own nervous system, sort of like how diseases work in our body.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right. It's sort of like, when you have cancer, it takes over your body and your immune system, and that's what these fungi do. It takes over the immune system, hijacks it, shuts down the whole biological process of that plant, and then turns itself into a superfood.
Yes.
All right. So we're not gonna go too far into it, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna just read the next paragraph, and that's it. All right. So as well as the most plants and confers, sorry, no, I skipped the land, as well as most mycelium of arbuscule Mycorrhizal fungi increase the efficiency of water and nutrient absorption of most plants. You see that?
Yeah.
So some of them help the plants. Some of them
Because they
take from.
return, yeah, and because also they'll be returning nitrogen back into the soil as well. Yeah.
Right. So that some of them help the plants, some of them take from the plants. All right. Confers resistance to some plant pathogens. Mycelium is an important food source for many soil invertebrates.
Yes, indeed.
Such as your worms. All right. Right.
Soil health for the gardeners out there.
Right. Right. They are vital. They are vital to agriculture and are important to almost all species of plants. Many species co-evolving with the fungi. Mycelium is a primary factor in a plant's health, nutrient intake, and growth, with mycelium being a major factor to plant fitness. Networks of mycelia can transport water and spikes of electrical potential. So these are very electrical fungi and spores.
Now, what is your, because there's a plethora of different types of mushrooms out there.
One of the best mushrooms that you can get out there is chaga mushroom, right? So chaga it grows on the birch tree, right?
Okay.
And that helps with blood, right? And the chaga and the birch tree have this whole symbiotic relationship with each other that allows the birch tree to stay alive and the chaga mushroom to thrive, right? So chaga mushroom is one of them. You got lion's mane, you got turkey tail, you got reishi mushrooms, you got one of the mushrooms that I'm not going to recommend because I'm not a doctor, right? I'm not a doctor, and I don't want anyone to go out there and to take it, and some issues happen with them. But Dr. Sebi did recommend this particular mushroom for those that are dealing with autism, and that's the magic mushroom.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That corrects the brain, right? But I'm not a doctor. And it does have psychological effects.
Psychedelic effects as well, simply.
Sorry, psychedelic. That's actually the word I was looking for.
Okay.
I apologize. So yes, you corrected me. It does have psychedelic effects, meaning that a person can possibly see things. But that's that's just the process of it correcting the brain. All right.
Okay.
So if you want to seek any type of help as far as that's concerned, I would suggest you seeking a herbalist and allowing that particular herbalist to give you more insight on that particular mushroom.
Okay.
But that mushroom right there could possibly help to correct autism and other mental disorders. So when I started out giving you guys that screenshot, that's the mushroom that I was having in mind. All right.
Yes.
All right. So mushrooms do have very high benefits. The edible ones. Don't go out there and just grab any spore from off the ground and start eating. Get the edible one. There's 5,000 to 10,000 different species of edible mushrooms, so I can't go through that today. So
true indeed. A sibling.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, you waiting for me?
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you was gonna bring it back. Sorry.
All good, sibling.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Actually, you know what?